Hello and welcome back to the next part of the lace along, and I am now ready to sew in and join up my middle down here. This will be my first pin. So I've done this fan and I've just half stitched pinned down this side and I'm ready to sew into here. I've not done the spider yet because I want to sew this pair into here first, because if I have the spider and all these pins around it, it would make it quite tricky to sew in. So I'm going to sew this one in, then I'm going to do the spider, then I'm going to do come down this side, and then I'm going to come down this other side slowly, one at a time, whilst also putting it into the sewing as well, which is slightly unusual to the other side in the fact that I'm doing it one by one, whereas before I put everything in a box. But it just means that there's not the pins to deal with. Otherwise you have all the pins in there and you're trying to do a sewing in amongst the pins and it's not easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got one twist on this pair, which is from my half stitch, and because when you make a sewing, sometimes the sewing actually removes a twist. There's no rhyme or reason as to why, and it's one of those things that you don't actually realize has happened until after the event, and then you don't know what you've done differently to any other sewings to have created that. So it's one of those little mysteries. So in order to counteract that, I always put an extra twist on my pair so that if I lose one twist, I've still got a twist on there. If I only had the one and I lost that one, I wouldn't have any. So it's always worth putting at least one twist on. So the next stage is to, now you can lift up your pin and do this sewing with the pin still in place, because like I said, it's incredibly easy sewing because you've got a great big loop. Or you can take the pin out and it will give you more movement on your loop here. And now this is my Lazy Susan. I've just replaced the needle because I gave my needle to somebody else. So I've got an upside down needle. Now if you're using this type of Lazy Susan, which has the screw top, it's advisable to take the point of your needle off because it's tapered, and if you put a tapered piece in this screw fix, it won't lock tight. So always cut off the tip of the needle where it begins tapering, so that it then fits neatly into your screw part and it then locks it tight because it's got something to grip all the way around. I've got a nice long piece in my Lazy Susan. This is just sewing thread. I'm hoping that the white shows up, but I tend to use sewing thread now because I have trouble seeing the eye of the needle, so it's easy to thread because it's finer. And I always tend to go for a long piece because that way then I'm hoping to be able to rescue my ends before they pull out of my loop, and means I have to do my sewing again. So the first thing I'm going to do is check that both of my ends are even, and it looks like I've got a knot in here. Oh no, there we go. So both of my ends are even in my Lazy Susan. I would always check this before you do a sewing, because if you've used it, chances are that one end will be short and the other will be long. So it's worth checking to save yourself having to restart your sewing or fiddle around. I always go down my sewings, so I'm going to put my Lazy Susan through my loop and I'm going to push it forward and then pull it back slightly, and you will see that the pulling back creates this loop. And then you want to grab a pin. So I've just got a pin and I'm just going to catch the pin in my thread and pull it up to make a bigger loop. Going to take my Lazy Susan out of my loop, which is a good habit to get into because it won't stretch your loop. Even though these are large loops, when you come to do your sewings at the other end, it's always worth having the same consistency, because if it doesn't pull on the bigs, it won't pull on the smalls. I'm going to lengthen one bobbin off slightly, and then I'm going to put it down my loop. And then I'm going to hold both my ends, and this is the key to your Lazy Susan, because if you let me show you, if you let go of one end, so just pull with one end, what will happen is your thread will either get knotted up as it's doing here, but it'll also just pull straight out. You have to hold on to both of your ends. So again, I'm going to check. So this is a point where one thread is long and one thread is short. So I'm checking my threads, same length, 2 seconds while you do that. Down your loop, pull back slightly to create a loop. So what happens is the friction on the two threads creates a bit of static in the thread, and it then stops it pulling or sliding out neatly, which is why it makes a loop. Just makes your life a little bit easier. Take your Lazy Susan out, pull up your hole. So this is the other reason that I have a long thread, is that you can pull quite a big loop to put your bobbin through. Makes life so much easier. Then I'm going to hold on to both of my ends here, the other loop in the other hand, and I'm not going to tension this thread. I'm going to keep the tension off. And the reason you hold on to your Lazy Susan thread is to try and stop it catching on any pins. Pull it up. Now you will find that when you're dealing with this, any sort of sewing, you are likely to catch on pins. So there's my new loop through, which would be exactly the same as if you were doing a crochet hook. You put your crochet hook, pull your thread up and create your loop. The next stage, which is really, really crucial, is to make sure, and I haven't got any, which is a bit annoying, but I'll put some on. You need to make sure you have no twists on this thread. So let me put some on. Can you see the difference between the twists? Now, if you were to put your other bobbin through that loop, all of those twists would be in your sewing and it wouldn't pull up neatly and flat. And you want your sewing to be pretty invisible. So there's the loop without any twists on. So you can see both threads at the bottom here. Then going to take the other bobbin in the pair and put it through. And then I put my Lazy Susan in my loop and guide my thread down. And as you can see, by doing that, it stops your threads catching on any pins. I'm then going to pop 2 twists, because remember we did 2 on this side and 2 on the other side on our pin. And then I'm going to put my pin back in, and I'm pinning up where my pin was. If you want to, you could put your pin in this side, which will then tension up. Oh, there it goes. Put it in that side and it then tensions up this side as well. And as you can see, my thread is one long, one short. So just before I start my next sewing, I'll just make it shorter. So that has given me the pairs, whilst my spider wasn't done, but it has given me the pairs to come down this line and then the next line. So I'm just going to now do my spider quickly. So I've put the twists on my legs already in preparation, and I'm just going to do a cross stitch through, because this time I'm doing a cross stitch to mimic the other side, so it mirrors it and it then looks even, because that's what ideally you either want a really funky way out, lots of different spiders every time, or ideally you want to have an even amount, because we seem to work better with even amounts. So it does help actually if I put the pin in between the right pairs. So I'm just tensioning up my legs. Set. I think I've got them in the right place, looks like it. So then I can come back and do my spider, bottom of the body. So there we are, last one. Set. And then I can put all my twists on. 2, 3. Okay, so this time I'm going to do half stitch pin into that pin. Then I'm going to give my little legs a tension, and then I'm going to do half stitch pin into the next one. So that's now ready. This right hand pair is now ready to go into my sewing. So I'm going to put my extra twist on. I'm going to lift the pin out. Now my threads, I've already lengthened my threads to the same size, so that I don't need to worry about that, but it's just worth giving it a glance just in case. So there's my loop, just putting it in, pulling it back. So I've put the extra twist on. I'm just going to lengthen one bobbin. It is easier if you lengthen the bobbin, because it then gives you quite a nice length to then pull up to make your loop. It's all about making sewings easy for you, and if you just lengthen the thread a little bit, then you can see I'm just going to pull it up, so I haven't got any tension on this thread. If you put tension on there, you're going to be pulling on both ends. You don't want tension on this thread. Pulling it up, and can you see I've got this lovely long loop here, and then you can pull your Lazy Susan out, check your threads at the bottom. So that looks good. No twists on that, or is there? No. Yeah, that looks good. Put the other bobbin of the pair through, and then you can just pull it into position with your Lazy Susan. So that's it. I'm going to put the pin in to the left, because that seemed to work a bit neater. 2 twists on your threads, because we put 2 twists on this other side, and that's your other sewing done. Then I'm just going to shorten my thread that I lengthened. Literally does take a couple of seconds just to shorten it, put your half hitch back on, and you're ready to do the next one. So then back over to here, do your half stitch, pin up, half stitch, give just going to tension those slightly, give your legs a little bit of a pull, and then you can carry on and do your next one. Now I'm probably actually clear of pins to actually carry on and to finish off my spider, so I will just do that, because I don't like to have my spider hanging around outside of his box. You never know what mischief they'll get up to. So let me just do that. Chances are you're going to lose your twist on your legs. So I'm just so I've done one sewing of the legs, and then I had enough space between all my pairs and all my pins to then go and do this. So I'm just going to make sure everything's all tensioned up. Yep, that's looking good. And then I can put my spider in the box, and I don't need to worry about him anymore, and I can carry on. I've still got a little bit of a gap here, where I can do my sewings. So I can do my next half stitch pin. So I'm going to show you one more time the sewing, and then hopefully that will make sense. So I've reached my pinhole for my sewing. I'm going to just put one extra twist on my pair, so it's got 2 on it. Lift my pin out. You could do it with the pin in, but I find it's just a little bit quicker to take it out. Make sure your threads are the same length. Put your Lazy Susan down, pull it back up, sit, pull a loop, put your bobbin through, and I always tend to use the bobbin that is closest to my sewing, and then use the other one as the bobbin that goes through the loop. So tension off your bobbin, pull your threads up. There's your loop, so you can take that out. Double check your threads to make sure there's no twists on. I think there is one there. There we are. Hopefully, I'm hoping you can see that. Actually, red's, I'm not sure red's a good colour or not. Then your other bobbin through your loop, Lazy Susan in and pull straight down. Then you can pop your pin in on the left, 2 twists, tension up, shorten your bobbin so you can use it again. We put the 2 twists on and it's now ready to go back into the work. And I'm just going to push these pins down, hopefully, and you might be able to start seeing where we've made the sewings, but they're quite invisible, so it all looks a little bit like the rest of the lace. So hopefully that's given you the knowledge to successfully make sewings, because a lot of people I know find these quite daunting, but I love my Lazy Susan. I won't ever use a crochet hook now because I tended to shear my thread, the amount of thread I went through with a crochet hook. It gives you then the idea of how to use your Lazy Susan. This is a wonderful piece of kit, and I'll put in a link for a handle for Chris Parsons, who actually has an amazing one, and I made a video showing his bobbin pricker, as he calls it, but I've used it as a Lazy Susan. The next video I'm going to show you how to sew in all your pairs and then to finish off your little tail at the end where you'll need a bead. Thanks for watching.